Hi everyone, first Star Wars video of the week. I'll get to Supergirl a little later tonight. I gotta first watch the episode. I was out last night. But, so we're talking about Kylo Ren. And when Kylo Ren, I did a recent video, a couple months ago, with Kylo Ren about is he irredeemable. And in this video, we're talking, I might address a little bit about that, but we're talking more about where does his character go in Episode 8? Because clearly he's going to be back in Episode 8. Now, I've heard a lot of ideas, theories. I'm going to flow a few of those around, and then I'll give my take where I think we're going to see this character go. So, I've heard, first off, what we know is going to happen with the character. First, he's probably going to get a new mask. I think we're actually going to see him have a slightly different attire. His mask is going to be slightly different. Wardrobe's going to be different. He's going to have a new weapon, that's for certain, because his crossguards have been destroyed. I still believe he's only going to have a full-on saber. He's not going to make another crossguard saber because the reason it was a crossguard was not because he wanted the design, it's because the design suited the tech he had on him at the time. His crystal was cracked, so the power was unstable. He had to use those as vents. So I think I'm pretty sure he's gonna have a new lightsaber that's just a standard single-bladed red lightsaber at that point. If he doesn't, okay, he doesn't. Now, does he? Now he didn't lose a limb or anything like that because he ideals Vader. So I don't think we're gonna see him like try to go on all cybernetic or anything like that because he didn't lose a limb. He's just got his face lacerated. He got a shot. He's gonna be. Maybe he has a little bit of cybernetics. Maybe he has some tech that's helping him move around a bit. But he's nowhere near Vader level. Hey, I need this to live. And we know he's going to be far more powerful because Snoke says near the end it's time to complete his training. Now, is he going to be a full-on Sith by the end of the movie? I don't think so because where I still am hanging on to the Snoke is Plagueis theory. I don't think that he's treats himself as a Sith anymore. Now, Kylo's going to be fully immersed in the dark side for the time being. Hence the is he irredeemable thing, which at the moment, yeah, I think he's irredeemable. We'll wait to see how the story progresses into Episode 9 to see if he can be saved or not. Personally, I don't think I'd want to see him saved. Not just because of the fact that he killed Han Solo, but because of the fact that the way this character was portrayed, and I like the character, I do. I think he is more or less Anakin 2.0, how we were supposed to see Anakin Skywalker. But because of that, it actually does make his character unlikable, that he was just so enamored by the dark side as opposed to the light side that he thought that was the cool way to go, and it's like, no, that's the way I want to go. Of course, he was manipulated by Snoke, so that happened. But what do I see happening? I heard a great idea that, first off, I think he's going to win his second match with Rey when they rematch. Rey's going to get pretty much the snot kicked out of her. Then I think the idea I heard, which is a good idea, is that the movie ends with him and the Knights of Ren finding out where Luke is, going to the island and confronting Luke, and that's going to be your cliffhanger. Last movie ended with Luke on a cliff as your cliffhanger. This will end with Luke on a cliff as your cliffhanger. Only this time, shit's about to get real. So I like that idea. But where do we see this character? I think we're going to see this character, first off, completely remorseless. Does not care about the consequences of his actions. Does not give a rat's ass, period. And I think we're going to see him really... we saw him do some heinous crap. Not a great deal of heinous crap, but the stuff we saw him do was pretty bad. We saw him literally execute a man in cold blood, more or less, just to prove a point in the beginning of the first film. So I think we're going to start seeing him pull some more heinous crap, even on a worse scale. I think we're going to see him just execute. In a sense, we're going to just see him raid and pillage with no remorse. Probably going to see the Knights of Ren actually in action with him as their leader. So I think we're going to see that. But also, we're going to get an idea of where the character may end up by the end of the movie. And I say that because look at Episode 4, or New Hope, if you will, and Vader was the bad guy. By the end, he was the bad guy, and at the end of this movie, first movie, Episode 7, Kylo Ren was predominantly the bad guy. We knew there was good. We knew there was possible good in him, but he completely snuffed that out, more or less. Look at Empire Strikes Back, which this new trilogy is kind of taking beats from. Not full out ripping off by any stretch of the means. In fact, they've done a lot of the tropes in this movie that they did in the other two movies already. So we got a lot of new ground that we can explore. But it's following similar beats. And by the end of the fifth movie, Vader's still primarily the bad guy. But that reveal that, I am your father. It's like, oh wait, he's his father. And we see Luke's like, that whole realization's like, no. And now we realize, no, Vader might not be 100% irredeemable at this point. We might see Luke try to save Vader in the next one, and sure enough, Luke saved Vader. So it's going to be interesting to see by the end of episode 8 where Kylo Ren, what reveals we get, what kind of interactions we get about the character. Because if we have any hinting towards a redemption, it's going to be in episode 8 before we actually see the redemption in episode 9. Otherwise, I believe if we don't get any sort of plot reveal or hint in the episode 8, like kind of like, the whole "I am your father" shtick, anything that would basically, if we don't get any sort of reveals, interactions that say, oh, there's something about this character that could still be saved or redeemed, I don't think we'll see it in episode 9 if we don't see any hint of that in episode 8. If we don't see any hint of it in episode 8, he's not going to be saved by the end of episode 9. That's how I feel. Because they try to plant these seeds early on. That's the way storytelling works. Now, on another note, we're going to see him far more powerful, and I think he's actually going to legitimately beat the snot out of Rey this time around. Granted, this will be interesting because we don't know how well, assuming she is trained, which we all assume she's going to be trained in episode 8 by Luke, how well by Luke she's going to be trained. So it's kind of like how Luke was trained by Yoda for a decent extent, and he held his own fairly well against Vader until Vader actually took it pretty seriously. Vader was toying with him at first, we all saw that, and then when Vader took it seriously, he said, yeah, no. Hey, I got a lucky hit on. So did I. So, so now, I hope they don't go that. This is not quite Kylo, but I hope they don't really rip off Empire and Rey gets her hand cut off. Kylo getting his hand cut off, I actually would be okay with, because yes, it follows a similar beat to Empire Strikes Back. In fact, a plot point to an extent, but it's not the protagonist getting it to liking themselves to the antagonist. It's Kylo. Kylo still, let's say Kylo still beats Rey, but she's able to escape by catching a lucky break. Let's say she tries to force push. He blocks, but in that moment she slices his hand off, and he's ah! And then he gets a cybernetic hand. Now he's more Vader-like. It's, yes, I'm closer to my idol. Ah, Nirvana. In fact, yeah, just cut off all my limbs. Now I can be like Vader. Oh man, he seems that kind of insane, actually, that he'd probably ask to do that. It's like, cut off my limbs. Do it, master. Do it! So, yeah, Kylo's kind of weird. But cool. I mean, I think I made a point in when I did the video that if he's irredeemable, which you can find in the playlist, not hard to find, that he's both likable and unlikable. He's likable because he's unlikable, I think. Because he did such heinous things and because he took away such a beloved character from us, he's irredeemable for the time being. But that makes him interesting. That makes him far more interesting than, say, Maul. I like Maul, I do. And I think Maul would kick Kylo Ren's ass in the long run. But makes him more interesting than Maul. Definitely makes him more interesting than Dooku. Because Dooku was just his own. Granted, Dooku was played by Christopher Lee, and I think he's a great actor. But as a character, we didn't get much with these guys. But with Kylo, we get all this backstory plus this war of attrition in him, and he's so torn, and now he's so immersed in one part of that side that at the moment it's interesting to see where this guy's going to go. I hope he gets the crap kicked out of him again eventually, because God, it came off a bit of whiny, and in a good way, the good type of whiny that seemed to fit his character and seemed to progress his character, whereas Anakin just seemed horribly written. Just horribly written. But yeah, I digress. So that's my thoughts on Kylo Ren for episode 8. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and as always, if you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We will do a review of it at some point. Muppets will be on tonight, but I will miss it because I'll be at work. I will try to catch Supergirl at least before I go to work. That way I can come back home and do the video. And then tomorrow is Who Would Win and a couple other things I have on. It's the same format as it always is this week. So thanks for watching.